We are the Liberty Intelligence Organization Network.
And this is our news recap show. I'm going to be the host for the news recap show most of the time. And you can call me the captain. So basically, if you've been following us, I like to remind people what we've been up to, in case you know, on the last episode of the Liberty Intelligence Organization Network. The captain revealed that he's going to start talking about propaganda, and we're going to start talking about World War II propaganda. And basically the stuff that they talked about during World War II to influence the minds of people. Again, it was all usually to influence public opinion towards the war, to make it more positive, to influence more recruitment, and really to demonize the enemy. And the New World Order still does this type of stuff, but World War II had more of a limited context. Basically, let me give you some examples. I didn't link to this stuff because this is from my own knowledge. I wrote a paper in college when I took the World War II class, one among many that I took related to that time period. So I got to see it from different points of view: economic, political, militarily, culturally, from Japan's side, from Germany's side, from the United States side, from the Soviet Union's perspective. I got to see it from every point of view. But basically, here's some propaganda that came out of Japan. The Japanese people were told by the imperial government of Japan during World War II that United States Marines, in order to join the Marines, had to kill their parents. That they believed that the American soldiers were complete savages that would rip them to shreds and drank blood and didn't care about anything and killed their family members just to fight. They really thought that. And then, you know, I'm sure not everyone in Japanese society believes that. A lot of people around the world are awake to the fact that the government does lie quite often, and we should always be skeptical of what it tells us. But people who did believe it, when the Americans started winning and started gaining ground, any Japanese that lived in an area that was about to be invaded by United States troops would commit suicide as opposed to being captured by the United States, because they believed they were about to be captured by ruthless savages based off the propaganda they've been exposed to. So that's how propaganda can influence the people's minds. And again, the New World Order still uses this. Now, the United States had propaganda too, and so did the Germans. Now, their propaganda likes to focus on racial stuff. They de-racialized certain groups of people. Again, the Germans like to dehumanize racial groups and religious groups, such as Jews, dark-skinned people, no matter what variant of skin color you are. Most people are aware that the Nazis had a view that white-skinned, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people were the ultimate racial species and should be the only human beings allowed to procreate and allowed to sustain throughout history. They wanted to eliminate everyone else. So that their propaganda was geared towards that. Now, the United States propaganda during the war was mainly meant to demonize and dehumanize the Japanese, and it made them look inferior. It depicted them as ape-like people, as that were savages, and I mean, both sides did this, all sides did this. It was propaganda, and it continues to today, except today it's much different, but it still follows similar trends. And it's not being done by individual respective nations anymore. It's being done by a New World Order. It's being done to all people, and it's meant as a divide and conquer mechanism. It uses propaganda to make you think you're part of some group, and then it tells you this group is your enemy, and it gets us to fight amongst each other. The main example of this is Republicans and Democrats. They force you to think you're part of a group, and then they convince these groups that they're bitter enemies. And again, I struggle a lot of times when I'm trying to talk about stuff. If I try to talk about something that demonizes Bush, people are like, "Oh, you're a Democrat," and I'm like, "No." And then if I do something that goes against Obama, they're like, "Oh, you're just a Republican," and I'm like, "No, I'm neither. I am a liberty-minded person. I guess you could call me a libertarian, which is the third party that has arisen in the liberty movement. But we are not Republicans or Democrats. We believe in liberty." And again, I guess liberal would be the true term for it, but we can't call ourselves liberals because the Democrats have stolen that title. And again, most libertarians have some conservative views, or things that would be considered conservative. And we believe in liberty, not these other things that force you to think you're part of some group and then get you to fight against each other. We have to realize the bad guys are the elites running the New World Order, not each other, but they're playing each other off of these tribal, groups, whether it's you belong to the Republican tribe, you belong to the Democrat tribe. Then they break it down even further, I like this, I like that, blah, 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 and it goes down to the very core, and again, you can see it in all things, like, you saw it in the Twilight show, are you like the werewolf or the vampire? You see it in, politics, but you also see it in, wrestling, professional wrestling, you see it, where you have to pick a side, or you associate yourself with a group. Sports, you see it a lot. You associate with your sports team, and you should really associate with yourself. You should think of yourself. And a lot of people say, yeah, we really did good against them. Our guy won, blah, blah, blah. You're not part of that group. Unless you play on that sports team, you cannot associate that sports team with your personal life. Unless you are a member of that politician's, staff, you cannot associate his victory with yourself. That being said, I just wanted to talk about, some propaganda in the past and what it's done to people's minds and why we should be aware of it, and that's what we're gearing up to do here in broadcast number 3, is to get you all informed so you can read through propaganda and become empowered through knowledge. So thanks again for tuning in. I want to remind everyone to stay safe, to stay strong, to stay free, and to stay informed.